Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. The approval for the power project that Anglo American Thermal Coal has been facilitating for an independent power producer in Mpumalanga has been postponed. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Can you tell us a bit about this project and why it has now been postponed?
We had high hopes for the Anglo project because it was being facilitated by a very big company, Anglo American Thermal Coal, and they were attracting in professionals who knew what they were doing with this would be coal-fired, they would be independent power producers, and the attraction for the independent power producer was that they would get a guaranteed offtake of electricity at a fixed price. And this would then finance and fund and incentivize them to build a power plant. But another aspect was that they weren't going to use mined coal, they were going to use dumped coal, discard coal. And if you've ever been out to Witbank at night, you often think the place is on fire because there's spontaneous combustion in these old dumps. And it's environmentally positive, you know, to actually use up that waste. And to use it to generate electricity is an even greater plus. So we were watching this project with great interest, and Anglo American itself was wanting to do this for reasons of self-interest, because what would happen is that the 450 megawatts of generated electricity would be put into the system at Mpumalanga, and then hundreds of miles away in northwest it would be taken out by a group company. That group company was Anglo American Platinum. And unfortunately, platinum, the industry, the sector, has had its woes. And to burden the Anglo American Platinum balance sheet with what they describe as a $1 billion finance lease was seen too burdensome at this stage. There's still hope that this will go ahead, because, I mean, it will only start producing probably in 2015. By that stage, you know, the woes could have left the platinum industry. They might be looking for expansion, and then it would be great for them to get this. But in the meantime, it's all on hold. And it's also a pity because it would have been one of the first examples of wheeling electricity, and it would have been baseload electricity. It's not like the renewable projects that are coming up that are still speculative and pricey. You know, I mean, over R2 per kilowatt hour, these people are getting guaranteed in their price agreements called PPAs. You know, this would have been a far more moderate situation. It would have attracted international funding as well. So it's not as if Anglo American was going to pay to have it built. All they were guaranteeing was that their group would take the electricity at a given price. So, and now that wheeling idea, that you get an agreement with Eskom to wheel the electricity, so you use their grid, and you put it in one end and you're allowed to take it out at the same volume at another end. You know, we're not getting that coming into the system, and we need these independent power producers. Eskom is battling. You know, the funding that it was expecting has been cut by NERSA, which is the authority dealing with that. And although probably Medupi and Kusile are covered, you know, what do we do after that? And this is a long-term business. We don't want to run into problems again with the lack of power, as we see might be upcoming this winter.
What are the consequences of this decision for Anglo American and also for the people of the area?
Well, you know, it's Anglo's use of electricity, I think it's about 1,600 megawatts. So to get a 450 megawatt and potential to grow in a modular fashion, you know, putting on 150 megawatt at a time, which would be possible with this, could give them a large degree of energy independence and enable them to grow without having to go to Eskom to say, look, can you give us electricity, etc. So it would have been a good plus for them. But even just to stay in business at a time when Eskom is saying, look, you know, our reserve margins are thin, there might be load shedding, it's always nice to have a guaranteed supply. So, you know, that they're not going to get that now. And also, when you build something like this, you have the construction industry active, you have funding, and you have bankers active, you have a lot of economic activity in the area, but the most you have jobs. And there were going to be like 1,000 jobs on a non-permanent basis during the construction phase, and then ongoing 100 jobs, or 1,200 during the construction phase, and then an ongoing 100. So that's the sort of thing we need. We also need base load. The word base load is good at the moment because Eskom, I think, are going to come through with bids later for base load. Not so much just the renewable whoosh.
What are some of the other benefits of companies moving to self-generation?
It's there's this whole idea of stay in business at this time. You like to have some sort of guarantee of electricity. People are running out in their homes and buying themselves generator sets. Not many businesses have gone out and secured their own electricity, which is a bit of a pity. The whole bidding rounds for base load power just seems to have gone off the radar at the moment. It needs to get put back on, and the acronym IPP, Independent Power Producer, we'd like them to come into the system. Because although Eskom have been doing a big supply job at relatively low prices, maybe that era is going away. You see them planning to go well beyond the 61 cents per kilowatt hour mark. And that might mean that it gives room for the private sector, because when the prices were so low, the private sector wasn't able to enter the fray. We saw two foreign companies come in and try to run the Kelvin power station out in Asando here, and both of them ran away with their tails between their legs. So this is the private sector trying to compete with Eskom and just finding it too tough because their prices were too low. Now with the prices rising, it might be normalizing, and it might be better, because then you get an appetite from the private sector to come in. And a lot of these big power generators who do this professionally, they might want to get a foothold in Africa, and they might see this as an opportunity, and perhaps they would give us competitively, or they'd create some sort of competitive juice, which would be a good thing. So it's a pity that this is not going ahead, but they're not saying it won't go ahead forever. They're just saying this is an inappropriate time. So perhaps we'll have this and more of these sort of things in the future, hopefully.
Well, the good news is, as you say, it's been postponed, not cancelled.
That's it.
Well, thank you very much, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.